All right, welcome back, my biochemistry students. In this video, we're going to go over complex 2 of the electron transport chain. In my last biochemistry video, I went over complex 1 of the electron transport chain, so please check that video out before watching this one. I'll leave a link in the description. All right, so complex 2 is not really talked about too much. The reason is because it's very easy and there's not much to talk about. There's really two key takeaways you need to know about complex 2. We're going to go over the entire thing, but there are two things you need to really know. And that FAD is involved and not NAD, and there are no protons being pumped. If you're to ever be asked exam questions, it's usually going to be on these two things. Either or and. Okay? There's really nothing else to ask about complex 2. But let's go over it, just in case. Okay, so complex 2 begins with step 7 of the Krebs cycle. If you recall, step 7 of the Krebs cycle, or the citric acid cycle, talks about succinate and how it turns into fumarate. And we do that by taking an FAD molecule and transferring electrons to FAD to make FADH2. If you don't believe me, here is the citric acid cycle video about step 7. Here is succinate, and we take enzymatic FAD, it's the same thing as FAD. And then we turn it into FADH2 and fumarate. So this FAD and FADH2 is where this is taking. This is it right here, okay, from the Krebs cycle. Okay, I just drew it differently. Now, here is what you really need to understand. If you ever be asked an exam question on complex 2, this is what you really need to know. What is the difference between complex 2 and complex 1? Complex 1 only deals with NADH, okay? And it also pumps protons into the intermembrane space. Complex 2 only deals with FAD and does not pump any protons into the intermembrane space, which would be up here. No protons are being pumped. Now, about the NADH. Complex 1, the NADH is coming from glycolysis and the Krebs cycle. Complex 2, FAD is only coming from the Krebs cycle. Okay? So think about this. Think about an airplane. If you've ever been on an airplane, before you hop on the airplane, they usually board the passengers based on how much you paid, right? So first class usually boards first. NADH is first class, right? Complex 1, this entire thing, complex 1 is first class. So NADH and only NADH boards the plane, right? Boards complex 1, the plane. Okay? Then follows business class usually. In business class is FAD. Okay? Complex 2 is, the complex is the plane, right? And business class now, which is FAD, boards the plane. And only FAD boards now. Right? We are done with first class. All of first class is already boarded. If you have not made it into the plane, then you're out of luck. You're not going to be boarding, okay? Now, FAD. It's only FAD that can go in now in complex 2. Okay? That's what you really need to know. Now, the electrons are going to be transferred to iron-sulfur clusters. This may be familiar if you watch my complex 1 video, which you should. But that's not really important, okay? The little recap here, iron-sulfur clusters are basically round circular balls of iron and sulfur, okay? And then they're able to hold on to electrons temporarily. Then they'll pass on to a heme group, like hemoglobin without the globin part, right? So it's not really in the blood. Now the heme is also just temporarily holding the electrons. Now, a Q is going to come along, ubiquinone, and it's going to basically snatch up the electrons. And it's going to turn into ubiquinol, fully reducing ubiquinone, right? So it's now QH2. This QH2 is going to go over to complex 3 and be processed for the next steps. And remember, Q is not really important. What the important part is, the energy component of it is this right here, the electrons, the protons and electrons slash, right? That's the main important of it. Q is just holding it, right, and transporting it. It doesn't really have energy. It's this that has the energy. Okay, that's what we care about, because this is what's going to help us generate the ATP, not this. This is just once again a holding molecule, a transport molecule. Okay, that's that's what it is. And that is complex 2. Pretty easy, right? So once again, big goal here, big takeaway is it's FAD involved, not NAD, and no protons are being pumped, right? If you have no protons at all being pumped. That's it. All right, I'm gonna shut up now. All right, subscribe, like, all that kind of stuff, notification bell. Yeah, that stuff. Okay, goodbye.